Hello and welcome to another SPORE creation tips and tricks video. In this video series, I will demonstrate and explain various techniques used in creating or answer questions that you may have. Keep in mind these are all of my own opinion and that SPORE is diverse enough that you may come up with your own techniques. If you wish to see the rest of the series, check the playlist in the upper right hand corner or at the end of the video. For today's video, as per request, I'm going to describe the process of making rainbowed textured creatures in SPORE. Now fortunately, this is a very simple technique and it does not require any mods or any DLC, so you can do this in good old fashioned vanilla SPORE without anything else. I'm going to use a good old Jowie just as something that we will recognise and should hopefully complement the rainbow colours quite nicely. So, to start things off with, which is to go ahead and just rip out all the colours it currently has, make a bit of a boring grey, and there's basically one rule to making these rainbow textured creatures, and that is basically that you absolutely require this particular colour palette right here, the orange and red one. Now, there might be some other ones, but this is generally the easiest one to use as you can see right now, it tends to have just multiple different shades. If I change it to different various colours, such as the cyan one here, and that's a bit of a cyan and a green. If I go to this orange one over here, and that's a bit of a vibrant orange and red. If I go to the pink one, that's a bit of a pink and purple, and you can see where I'm going with this. This particular texture palette allows you to have basically two colours in one, and that is basically just going to be the base of all rainbow creations is this particular palette. Now people often use either the default one or some sort of very vibrant orange or yellow because as you can see here that really adds just the vibrancy of these two colours and it's probably the most overpowering colours you can get. So we just use that as a base, and then if we move on to the coat and detail, we're basically just using textures that complement this. We're not really going for anything patterned, which want like the underbelly, the back, the sides, etc. So what I personally like using is going for either of these two in the coat palette in page 2 as either the top back yellow and the top back and bottom belly blue. It's better if they're shiny, just because it really sells the texture a bit better. It's not required, but the shiny ones do just tend to complement it a bit more. And for this one, let's say I want to go with something like another bright, vivid colour, maybe like a magenta. It might take a little bit of trial and error because different textures play with different creatures differently. But in this case, I think that's a pretty good design right there. Though if anything, the magenta probably flows into it a bit too much, so in that case, I'm actually going to go ahead and make it cyan instead. So now we have a creature of 3 different colour palettes where it looks like it has red and yellow, when in reality that's actually just the same gradient. And then the detail panel, what I'd normally do is either use this big orange shade right here, or maybe even the yellow line on the side right there. Like I said earlier, it takes a little bit of trial and error to figure out the patterns that you want that complement each other the most. And there are various different techniques of doing this, but like I said, the overall basic rule is that the base colour is that initial red and orange one. What some people do also do is use a certain creepy and cute texture, being this one here, the webbed one. I think that was a bit of a personal taste, but definitely does add like a bit of an extra element to it. If I now mix around these patterns a little bit and make that one a bit more of a, maybe like a pinkish magenta, with the cyan markings, now you can see again it's even more of a rainbow coloration. Now here's a really strong example of these colorations by Inu Basilius, and as you can see that once again the bottom base texture hidden by the green and magenta and blue, the bottom texture is once again that same orange and red one. Now keep in mind that very gradient heavy vibrant orange and red, the way it also combines with some of the magenta and cyan almost kind of mixes into purples in a few areas as well, and that will again create like a full sense of additional colour scheme, just the way that the colours overlap and blend and how the gradients interact with each other. Here we have another example by Ratgirl115, once again the same base texture, but this time around she's actually been using a couple of different textures. But for her execution, what she has done is that instead of using that creepy and cute netted texture, she's used this straight pink line in the coat palette and made it a bright, vibrant yellow, which you can especially see appear on the various detail parts like the shell shards and the shoulders. And then the detail palette, I believe she's used this orange one here, which is then a bit more of a cyan slash green or teal. And once again, they integrate to each other quite nicely. All the various gradients create these full senses of navy, of purple, and as you can see, just really mixes it all together. Like I said, it's quite a nice simple technique. It does require a bit of trial and error to get the right balance that you're after, but generally speaking, you're going to want to use this particular base palette and you're probably going to want to use it as a warm colour so that you can then offset it with cooler colours afterwards. And I hope that explains the process of making rainbow coloured creatures. Nice and simple and really quite handy. Thank you very much for watching, I hope it helped. If you've got any more questions on how to do certain things in SPORE, please feel free to comment down below. And as always, I will see you all next time. Cheers.